Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video. So today I wanted to do a quick video just talking about why I think the Dave Erickson era of Fear was so special, because I feel like it's very underrated and I feel like I talk about it all the time and I should probably stop talking about it all the time. So I feel like if I just do a video where I get my thoughts out about it, and then maybe I'll stop mentioning it as much. So the first reason that I believe it was so special and unique is the setting. So we hadn't really seen much else in The Walking Dead. We had seen a couple states and areas of America, but not too much. And then season 1 of Fear takes us to California, which is on the other side of America to The Walking Dead. And we get to see what happens to it by the end of season 1, that it gets destroyed. And that still plays on my mind today because it makes you think what states have been destroyed, what states or cities are still intact. And obviously we know from The Walking Dead that Atlanta's still doing it's not destroyed. We know from Fear that California's just been completely burned down. And it's just them kind of moments that make me think more about the world of The Walking Dead and make it feel more like an actual place. And then, of course, from season 2, Fear takes a little bit on the water, which is very unique to see us actually on a boat for a good about 4, 5, 6 episodes of season 2. It was very interesting, and of course, the enemies and villains that came along the way, like the pirates. And then we arrive in Mexico, which is just a really nice breath of fresh air because Mexico is South America, not North America. So we take place in a whole new place. But not it's still America as America, but it's not North America, it's South America. And the changes that come with Mexico is so interesting to see. And I really, really enjoy it. And it's different enough that gives more different problems, gives more situations. I just overall like it for what it is. Then, in season 3, we get a Mexico border. So we go a bit into America. I think, Texas, or I'm not American. I don't know American geography. I know I should probably know where season 3 of Fear takes place, but it's at the border between Mexico and America. And that's really interesting as well because you kind of have to do with the border. It's not really a huge problem about getting past the border. In season 2, we do see Ophelia trying to get past the border and she struggles and eventually she finds a little entrance. But it's just the fact of really switching between these two places and having a lot of the season in America and a bit of the season in Mexico, from seeing Strand and Daniel stuck in Mexico from the start, and then seeing how the Clarks are in America, and then the Clarks coming to Mexico. It changes it up enough, just then rather than The Walking Dead just going to a different state and there not really being any kind of change, and you're not really being that interested. Of course, I am only on about the Erickson era. I am only on about, in particular, this situation, the third season. But there isn't a time in The Walking Dead where you feel the same way, of actual travel. There are times where you do feel yeah, they traveled a distance, but you don't feel the same way. I actually do believe that it takes them a day and a long time to get from point A to point B because they're crossing the border, they're going between Mexico and America. Whereas in The Walking Dead, while they do go long distances, sometimes it doesn't really click how far they're traveling because it just doesn't feel that different. And of course, that's no hate to The Walking Dead. I just think that it's done extra well, and it's why I'm mentioning it because it's a reason why I think that the first 3 seasons of Fear actually stand out to be something that should be loved and in some way almost is loved in the Walking Dead universe. Then for the second point, we have to say the characters. There's about 5 characters that everyone can kind of agree they're good. There is maybe 1 or 2 people are saying, no, I don't like them. But out of Madison, Alicia, Nick, Strand, and Daniel, they are characters that people love from Fear. Some people aren't 100% on board about Madison, but loads of people love Nick. Absolutely, loads of people love Nick. Loads of people love Strand and Daniel. They all feel like they've got something about them. Madison is this character that's got a dark past and that has the potential to be like an absolute psychopath in the future. Alicia is very nice and she's really smart and intelligent, and that the way she deals with situations, she seems like she could be a really good leader. Nick is a drug addict who struggles to find himself in the world, and eventually during the apocalypse, he's able to find himself a bit more and realize that he is a bit broken, especially when he finds his friend Troy. Daniel is, again, someone else with a past, but a violent past, working in, I think, the military or something like that. And he wants to try and create a new life for his wife and his daughter. And this zombie apocalypse brings him back to his past and makes it run more loose. And Strand is this really sneaky guy that steals, that doesn't really hurt anyone, but kind of hurts them in the way of stealing and being sneaky around them and lying and almost being selfish and doing things for himself. And to see him kind of squirm around the zombie apocalypse and see how that works out for him, it's really, really fun. And of course, all the characters have a dynamic. You know, Madison and Strand really like each other because there's nothing about them that clash necessarily, and it almost kind of feels like it fits the puzzle piece for a whole like nasty, evil, psychopathic person. Like Madison's traits of like being violent and being selfish, and then Strand's traits of being sneaky and being selfish. They kind of come together. But then you look at Daniel and Strand that both kind of like, Daniel's a little bit sneaky as well in the way that he would, more violent, if you know what I mean. And like basically Daniel just doesn't take any bull and Strand is full of it. And Strand isn't necessarily violent, but Daniel is. And there's a huge clash between Daniel being pissed at Strand for what he does, and then Strand thinking, just wanting to just get away from Daniel and not really want to be involved with him because Daniel's going to get dead suspicious of Strand. And the dynamic between them is really nice. The whole dynamic between mother, son, and daughter, the brother and sister bond of Nick and Alicia, based off everything they went through. It's really, really good to see, and it just makes those 5 characters interesting. That's them 5. There are more characters. I mean, Travis, I didn't mention him, only because he died at the end of season 2, so, of course, them other characters were there 3 seasons. They had a lot more time to be fleshed out, but people loved Travis. Like, and in the episode Wraith at the end of season 2, Travis was absolutely crazy. He goes sicko mode because of Chris. Chris, not many people like Chris, but I do. I think his character just makes sense. Chris was already a little bit broken, but and like he was kind of more seduced to be like wanting friends and to just be accepted, and then he finds these people and he's kind of friendly with them, and it's like all right, and then he wants to run off with them and, you know, just disagree with his father, and he runs off with them, and that ends up getting him killed because he was so like naive. And that's the kind of thing where it's like, he might have not been the best person, but his character made sense, and his whole beginning and his end makes sense of, well, yeah, it happened because these are all the events that happen in Chris's life. This is who Chris was, and this is what he was going to do, and this is how his life ended. Then you have other main characters that were there for 1 season, like Troy, Jeremiah, and Jake, and Walker. Walker was a bit mad, a little bit crazy, but he also was pretty sane. He was just a bit weird. But, like, at the end of the day, all he really wanted was land. And he would go into some dangerous ways, like sending Ophelia to do anthrax, to actually get the land back and kill the Otto's ranch people. And then, of course, Jeremiah being just not a nice person at all, but just being weird and just not wanting to give up the land because he's obsessed that it's now his land. And then Jake and Troy being completely juxtaposed brothers. Troy being just so interesting and layered and makes sense why him and Nick were friends. And Jake being a good kind of puzzle piece with Alicia, that they just worked so well together. And they obviously were like dating or like had some connection, and it made sense. And the characters were just good in Fear. Even if you didn't like the character, the way they were written and the reason for them made sense. Like, and here's one more example about the characters. So going back to Chris's death. Chris's death almost felt like it was something that was planned, and to push forward Travis's character. In season 8 of The Walking Dead, it didn't make sense when Carl died. So, if you compare it to Carl dying in season 8 and Chris's death in season 2 and how it pushes characters forward, it makes a lot more sense in Fear the Walking Dead, because they didn't need to kill off Carl to change the kind of the rivalry between Negan and Rick. Like, Carl could have spoke to Negan. Carl could have been the one to change things. He didn't have to die for it. It was such a stupid decision. But, like, in Fear, it makes sense. Well, Chris was like that. It made sense that that was going to be the reason that he died, because he was too stupid or naive. And then Travis shows a side to him that we haven't seen before, but only because of the drastic events that happen with Chris. So that's where I just really think that the characters in this era of Fear made sense, and they were entertaining, and they were just perfect. So the last point is the innovation and concept of what Fear the Walking Dead is. So to put it simply, Fear the Walking Dead was going to be the protagonists turning antagonists. Because it all stopped in season 4, I don't know the exact details of like what was going to happen, but based off season 3, Madison was going to kind of be the ringleader in the situation, and family was going to be a very big focal point for why Madison would be the way she was, and safety as well, because between season 1 to 3, the group could never find anywhere to stay safe. Whereas like in The Walking Dead, they had the prison, which they were there for a long time. They had Herschel's farm that they were there for a bit, and then they had Alexandria, which, even though there were threats to Alexandria, and, even threats to like, the prison and that, at least they were there for a while, and the threats weren't terrible, if you know what I mean. And so, in Fear, we never, or the Clarks, or even ours, there was never a proper safe place. They had to leave California, and then the boat they left, and eventually when they tried to go back, it wasn't there. And, you couldn't really be on the boat that long, because it is a boat at the end of the day. You need fuel, and it would be best to make sure that you're, like, touching land and that. Like, you can't live on a boat forever. Well, I mean, I guess some people could say you could, but it wouldn't be a good idea. You also need to get food and all that stuff, so, yeah, the boat's not, like, the safest place. And then you have, like, pirates. And then you get to Mexico, and then you have Celia, and she's just ridiculous. You can't deal with her. And then you get to the hotel, which then you kicked out of the hotel because violence happened. So even though the hotel was the closest thing to security, it didn't last, did it? And then you get to the ranch, which has a huge threat, similar to the likes of like Negan, but that was in Alexandria, and Alexandria definitely felt more stable than the ranch, because then the ranch had a plethora of other problems. It wasn't just another group wanting to attack and kill everyone. Like, Negan didn't want to kill everyone in Alexandria. He just wanted to take it over and make it his own settlement. Whereas Walker and that, they wanted to kill everyone in their land and make it their land. And so that's where you kind of think, like, there really was more problems towards the Fear cast. And so Madison would have had, like, security and just a place to call home as another reason to want to be so violent, which, like I say, is a new concept. And then, of course, I can't not mention season 1, in which season 1, the whole concept of it being the start of the apocalypse, was done well. It was probably a 7 out of 10. Was it anything mind-blowing? No. But was it really, really good and entertaining? Yes. I give it a 6 and 7 out of 10 in terms of actually showing us the start of the apocalypse. But what we did see in the 6 episodes was really, really fun, really enjoyable, and we still got to see a new concept and light into how the apocalypse started. There's loads that Fear does that's unique. And I think season 2 definitely shines, even though some people think season 2 is just a carbon copy of The Walking Dead. and that it just retreads the same ideas. I completely disagree with that. But that's just some of the reasons. There's loads more I could say. I kept on bouncing between different ideas. There is so much to say about the first three seasons of Fear and why I love them so much. But at least I was able to make a video to get all my thoughts out. And thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, I really hope that you will watch the Erickson era of Fear, because there's a lot that goes on. And it's really interesting. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.